Hi guys, it's Shanae and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm reacting to, wow, sorry, I went into autopilot there because I'm stressed. Today I'm continuing my read along, sorry guys, for Scum Villian, Self-Saving System Volume 4. I can do words, that's fine. The reason why I'm stressing is that because I think my mic isn't working properly. I tried to test it, but it's not doing what it's supposed to, I don't think. So please let me know if this sounds okay, because it just sounded very soft to me and I'm not sure why. Hi. So I'm vaguely stressed about that. Like, if it's not too bad, I'll just make sure to try and be very close to the mic today. Um, but yeah, it's very weird. I don't understand why it's decided to do that now, because I did 2 live streams today for Patreon things, and it was fine. Okay, okay, great, wonderful. Um, so let me get the book while we are here. And yeah, so we are gonna do a full 2 hours like we usually do today. I'm feeling a lot better. Still a little bit stressed. I'm looking forward to going away for a little bit at the end of the month, and I think it's going to be good to help me get through at least some of the burnout that I've been feeling. So that is great. Yeah, we're gonna do a 10-minute break on the hour if all goes as usual, and I have my water and coffee here with me, and I will be refilling with tea once we get to the halfway point. But also, can I just quickly show you guys? I'm not gonna like eat it live or anything like that. I'm just keeping it here for safety because I don't trust my dad to not eat it while I'm here, and I do want to have it tonight, but I'm thinking they're probably going to be asleep by the time I finish with this live stream. So I'm keeping it here for myself. But is this not the most beautiful cupcake you've ever seen? It literally looks like a rose. I'm so sorry, this is so random, but I'm just heavily impressed. I don't think the lighting is doing it justice, but it is awesome. Anyway, okay, sorry about that. I just had to show. Um, okay, I think we can more or less get going because I was a little bit late because of the audio issues, or the perceived audio issues, I should rather say. So, I have to say I'm kind of looking forward to this because even though MXGX has already proven that just because it's extras doesn't mean there can't be stakes, I do feel like the stakes are just a tiny bit lower because we kind of know that they got an original happy ending. So that is soothing my soul just a little bit. So we were on, if this is correct, I think at the top of page 42. Let me just make sure. Hmm. Okay, no, sorry, we were at the bottom of page 42 and we had the beautiful illustration. And we were in the middle of Bing tormenting, quote unquote, Bing Mei by like spelling out all the things that he wants to do to Shen Jingqie. Okay, I think we can get started. Bingo really knew how to push someone's buttons. It was my fault last time, he said mournfully. This disciple admits his wrongdoings, but just now, didn't Shizun feel my touch most pleasurable? We're both your disciples, so how can you bear to treat me like this? Fake. You faker. You still faking. As expected of Bingo, that two-faced backstabber with his honey tongue and a belly full of knives, who could smile and agree with you while stabbing you 1,000 times in his heart. The male leads in Zhongjian grimdark works were truly sinister. By taking this track, he was obviously trying to disrupt Lobingher's focus. Of course, Shen Jingche couldn't let him succeed. He snapped back, his words and full of righteousness. It wasn't pleasurable in the slightest. The second after he spat these words, a powerful, numbing wave of heat surged within his belly. It was impossible to ignore and impossible to suppress, as if thousands of ants were sluggishly crawling about inside his body. The corner of Lobingher's lips twitched upward as he said cheerfully and ominously, "Did he get fed more demon blood? I will frickin' scream." "You still insist on lying about your feelings? Heavenly demon blood. How could he forget? As long as it was a Lobingher, he could control the blood mites within Shenjin's body. Two Lobinghers openly competed with each other, one agitating the blood mites, the other suppressing them, and the result was that numbing weakness and prickling heat ebbed and flowed through Shenjin, coming in waves as they rapidly spread from his abdomen to his entire body, even to his fingertips. Shenjin gulped a couple of painful breaths, his vision blurred, and the hand holding his sword began to tremble. This poor man has been through enough, I feel. The moment Lobingher was distracted, the shin moor at his waist was snatched away. Damn. The original flavor gave them a gleeful smile, a hint of bloodthirsty excitement within it. Right as he grasped the hilt. What was that? Hilt. Sorry. Ready to draw the sword from the sheath, Shen Jingche suddenly said coldly, "Don't celebrate too early. Look above you." At this moment, the only thing above their heads were rustling twigs and leaves of bamboo, swaying and undulating in the wind. The original didn't need to raise his head to tell that no threat awaited him above, and he smiled slightly. "Shizun, that sort of ploy is for dealing with little children. Trying to trick your disciple that way is a bit too condescending." "You won't look? All right. You brought this upon yourself." Chen Jingche formed a seal with his left hand and crisply snapped his fingers, his expression hardening. The original was about to say something when a fluttering leaf streaked across his vision. Ah, this is such a nice callback to the start of the novel. The smile on his face froze. A fine trickle of blood slowly dripped down his cheek. All around him, bamboo leaves fell more and more thickly, under until the leisurely drifting foliage suddenly sped up, each one slicing toward where he stood in the center like a frigid cutting wind from the east. Plucking leaves, flying flowers, ultimate version. 100 leaves, 1,000 flowers. The original Lobinger flung out his palm, rooting the dense assault of leafy razors. But for Shenjingche, the entire forest was full of ammunition, thick with leaves that rained down like confetti, homing in on their targets in a hot pursuit. Though they appeared unassuming, with a single touch they could carve flesh from bone. Ooh, that is a grim image though. Uh, but like I think originally like luring her, the like Big May version of luring her suspected that leaf to have come from Shinjinju, but I wonder how he'll feel now that this is like fully confirmed. A leaf or two could be dodged, but hundreds upon thousands blotting out the sky as they enveloped the target was inevitably enough to fluster anyone. On top of that, the original had broken both an arm and a leg during his crude duel earlier, him hampering his why am I struggling? Hampering his mobility. Shen Jingqi was about to take his bullying further when a black shadow stole in front of him. With his remaining good hand, that figure struck the original Lobinger square in the chest. A look of disbelief flashed over that impossibly familiar face, and in that instant, Jinjinchu actually found it all somewhat unbearable. The original backed up 2 steps, his throat bobbing as if he had swallowed a mouthful of blood. How harmonious, he sneered. Not bad, hmm? His words were mocking, but his good hand had already clenched into a fist, his veins faintly bulging. Since he'd come of age, no one had ever managed to push him this far. Being at such a disadvantage reminded him of the days when he'd been persecuted and humiliated, trampled over in all kinds of ways. The hot tea spilled upon his head, the cold and draughty woodshed. Oh, that's a nice rhyming scheme. Okay, sorry. The relentless beating fists, the verbal abuse, the kneeling that lasted from the blazing afternoon into the dead of night, the pusity of his meals, and connected to those days by a thousand inseparable threads was the fact before, sorry, not the fact, the face before him. But right now, the face's owner stood beside a person identical to him, cradling his double's broken arm, too afraid to touch it, but also too worried to let go, as if he himself could feel the pain. Shen Junqie frowned. Why did you fight him head on? And you kept fighting even though you knew your arm was broken. Don't be so reckless next time. It was a scolding, but the tone wasn't just urgent and upset. It was anguished and full of heartache. Even an idiot could hear that. A chill wind blew through the forest, rustling the foliage. Leaves drifted down one by one. It was so infuriating and so unfair. The image of the two of them standing together was so glaring that his eyes began to hurt, the rims prickling with heat. Even though they were both lobbing her, for that for what reason had that one been able to meet this sort of Shenjinche, while he had only met a rotten bastard, vindictive, petty, and jealous to the core? For what reason? The carefully preserved clothes and belongings, the pristine and tidy side room, the gentle whispers, the boundless doting and indulgence. He'd only wanted to humiliate them, but that disgusting relationship of theirs elicited nothing but his contempt. And yet, the "come with me" that left his mouth in that instant was involuntary, and it was addressed to Shen Qingche. Interesting. Interesting that he actually desires that. Very strange. Heard those 3 words and sneered. What did you say? Huh? His knuckles cracked. From the look of it, they had triggered a killing rage. It was true that Shen Qingche approved of finishing people off. He was a big fan of finishing things off. But if he had Lobing Her kill the other Lobing Her, exactly what would they be doing here? Then again, if Shin Qingque were to land the killing blow himself, that was even more unthinkable. Furthermore, what if the law that the male lead has with plot armor was still in effect with regards to the original Bingo? Shin Qingque pressed down on his Lobinghe shoulder with 2 fingers, telling him to calm down. As he was racking his brain as to how to deal with this, the original Lobinghe moved first. He slapped away Shinmore's paper seals. Dark chi and purple light surged forth, and with the other 2 still on full alert, he cut a dimension-severing slash, opened a spatial rift, and leapt inside. As he looked back, he viciously bit his lip. So infuriating. When the rift vanished, together with his figure. Just like that. He was gone? He had been so easy to defeat? Though he was frozen for a while, Shinjinchu finally recovered. Head back and destroy Shinmore's fragments this instant. You can't keep something like that around. The bugs in the thing's code were way too serious. If they held on to it, who knew what kind of ridiculous developments it'd stir up next? Lobing-Her silently nodded. Though he probably didn't need anyone's support, Shinjinchu continued to lend him one of his arms to lean on. I'm kind of glad because I feel like otherwise he wouldn't feel as grounded, probably, considering what just happened. They had barely walked a single step when Lobingher said mournfully, Shizun, is my technique really that awful? Ah, to be honest, it was indeed awful, really awful, regardless of whether it was a matter of kissing, touching, stripping, or rolling around. The difference was far more than a few levels. Can you guys imagine Shenjinchu using the like line of "it's fine, we can just practice"? Oh my word! Oh no! Oh no! I'm gonna have to read this. And when it came to thirsting, he had the chance to compare. But if one followed the line of logic, it would also be a fail. Obviously, Shen Jingqi wouldn't say these words. Instead, he skirted around it with, not really. The gloom on Loringer's face grew heavier and heavier. After all, you don't have much experience. Shen Jingqi consoled him. Bingo's skills had been honed through fighting hundreds of battles and having trysts with hundreds of women. Loringer's head drooped. From the look of it, he was probably contemplating squatting in some corner to grow mushrooms again. Why is that imagery so funny to me? Like, I just love that. Um, More than anything, Shin Chia couldn't stand just watching molding her in one of these moods. His master will treat your arm and leg first, and once they're healed, we can do some exploring together, he said in a coaxing tone. How about that? Moving her abruptly jerked his head up. Really? Shen Jingche had known that he would react like this, and calmly patted his head. Treatment first. Moving her nodded. Then, with two cracks, he slotted his arm and leg back into place. Oh my word, he's just like, yeah, no, healing is not gonna get in the way of this for me. He instantly straightened, using his perfectly whole hands to grasp Shenjin's arms, a soft flush rising in his cheeks as his eyes sparkled. I'm healed. Shizin, let's do some exploring. Oh no. Oh goodness. A hole yawned overhead in the bamboo house, and the whistling wind funneled in through it. Shenjinchu lay on his back facing the sky. Lovinger's weight was on top of him. Like a puppy, he licked and kissed down the line of his throat. He stared at the gaping hole above them, which had been blasted open by one of the Lobinghers during their battle. Finally, unable to pretend he couldn't see it any longer, he said, "How about we change locations?" Lobingher raised his head. "No," he said obstinately. "Leaving the mountain and booking a room or whatever would be better than this." Shenjingchu had yet to comment when Lobingher repeated himself. "No changing. Let's do it here, in the bamboo house." He said this very firmly. In all likelihood, the bamboo house was a very special place to Lobingher. Shenjingchu capitulated and went to remove his clothes himself. At this point, he could say he had some experience. He couldn't wait for Lobingho to remove them. If he did, those clothes would no longer be in a wearable state. So it was better to fully strip himself first. After a spat of wrestling, their outer robes, inner robes, and waist sashes all fell to the floor one by one, the teal and black overlapping. Now that they were exposed to each other, a chill wind blew past, and Jenkins felt very keenly that he was both a bit cold and as well as a bit embarrassed. Yet Lobenher didn't seem to feel the same in the least. He knelt between Jenkins' legs, his Adam's apple bobbing, an expression terribly nervous. The last time they'd done this on Maple Ridge, he'd been in a daze. He didn't remember it very well, but he'd seen the disastrous bloody aftermath and knew just how dreadfully he'd done. On top of that, he'd just suffered a massive blow to his ego, so he sorely wanted to put on a good performance. But he had no idea how to go about doing so. Watching him hesitate, Shinjichu found him pitiful. He sighed and took the initiative, reaching out to undo the belt of Lobinho's pants. Robinhood's pale face flushed red, and Shinjinchu couldn't resist using a hand to scratch at his chin. This child really was quite adorable when it came to things like this. But after undoing his belt and looking down, he saw that thing, already alert and erect, and all thoughts of adorability instantaneously flew off beyond the nine heavens. Oh my word. Hell, the size. Absolutely not, Shinjinchu said resolutely. Those words struck Nobinho like lightning. Shizun, you promised. What he meant by absolutely not was, we can't just go to town like this, I'll die. Oh no. Just how had he managed to survive last time? How had this thing gotten inside his body without killing him? How had he not been annihilated? Changing Chu struggled for a moment, then said, Let this master. Let me take care of you once with my hands. At least you could jerk him off to deflate it a bit first. And this is a lot, to put it mildly. Chinching's five digits had never serviced another person before, so this was a ground-breaking first for him. He prodded the purple-red head of that flashy pillar. This is so weird. With its ridiculous construction and bulgy veins, then steeled himself and grabbed it. Robinho yelped in pain, his expression a little aggrieved. Shinjinchu focused on hypnotizing himself, his grip neither tight nor loose as his hands slowly began to move. The more he jerked Robinho off, the more alarmed he became. This is so awkward. Okay. Whether it was a question of girth, hardness, or temperature, this definitely wasn't something that belonged to a living organism, right? It would be more correct to call it a weapon, right? After the rough start, where Shenqingchu hadn't yet figured out the right level of force, leading his grip to be a little painful, Obito visibly got into the mood with a quickness. He stared at Shenqingchu, squinted a bit through limpid, quivering eyes, and his breath too became slightly unsteady. Shenqingchu's face was blank, but his actions were fervent. The more he rubbed, the sorer his hand became, but other than a tiny trickle of white fluid releasing from that flared head, this infernal object demonstrated absolutely no intention of further releasing. It wouldn't go down, it wouldn't surrender. If anything, it stiffened further. Okay. No matter how calm Shenjinchu kept himself, he couldn't stop his expression from twisting. Lobingher had secretly been paying attention to his face the entire time. At this moment, he carefully said, Then, Shizun, how about you do it? What? Shinjinchu thought he'd heard wrong. Lobingher was going to let him talk. I'm afraid of hurting Shizun again, said Lobingher, so it'd be better if Shizun did it. I mean, they can go either way, but I think what Lobingham might be referring to is um, just Shenjinchu taking charge, but not necessarily flipping the roles, if that makes sense. I don't know how else to say it. Earnestly, his expression sincere. He was seconds away from lying down before Shenjinchu hastily said, No, it will be best if you do it. If Shenjinchu took charge, he didn't have any experience, okay? If he wasn't careful and made Lobingha bleed everywhere, even though he knew Lobingha would still be overjoyed, he wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Oh, you two disasters together. There would be more opportunities in the future anyway. There was nothing wrong with going along with him a bit more, or letting him taste a little sweetness first. In short, it was irrevocably It unequivocally wasn't on account of being a little moved that Shinjinchu was offering to give up the lead himself. Goodbye. As if to encourage loving her, Shinjinchu patted his head and turned himself over, lying face down over the pillow. His elbows were propped on the bed, his shoulder blades raising high, and the line of his waist dripped in a soft arc, practically pressing his backside to loving her. Okay, this is a lot. I don't know if I'm prepared. Shinjinchu was so ashamed that his face was burning, but unexpectedly loving her grabbed his waist and flipped him back around. What's wrong with you now? He asked helplessly. Loving her said, I want to do it from the front. You want to be able to do me face to face? He had to put it like that, oh my word. Shenjing Chu's expression was dark. Don't be greedy. He tried again to lie on his front while mumbling in his heart. This child is very fussy. He's lucky enough that I'm letting him do it at all. But lo and behold, loving her again flips him over like a pancake, his expression mournful. Shazun, do you really hate looking at my face that much? Fine beads of sweat dotted his forehead. His nose was dusty red, and tears seemed to be shivering on the rims of his lids. Oh, goodness. He is very emotional, that is all I will say. Changing Chia had absolutely zero doubts that if he refused again, knowing her would burst into tears on the spot. Faced with this scene, he felt both embarrassed and tender. His heart melted. He couldn't help but say, That's not it. Robinho was on the verge of weeping. Heartbroken, he whined, Then why does Shizun insist on having his back to me every time? You're really thinking about it too much. Where do all these little moods and ideas come from exactly? Whatever. He didn't need his face. It would be better for Robinho not to read into things too much. All right, Shinjincho said recklessly. From the front is fine. Cease the weeping, aren't you ashamed? Nobuna's following actions proved that his tears held no value whatsoever. Oh my word. Oh, he said, and the moisture vanished as swiftly as it had arrived. He shamelessly pressed his head closer, his hand caressing Shinjichu's skin. Shinjichu possessed both a slim waist and delicate limbs. His bare legs were long and slender as well. As they were face to face, those legs were forced to bend and fold. Robinho looked down. He had a clear view of everything between them, with a deep gully separating the two round buttocks. That is such a weird description, okay? Oh my word, I'm dying. Looked slightly as he skimmed up the smooth, silky inner thigh. Shenjingchu couldn't help but shrink back, as if afraid that he'd renege. Lobingho held one of his thighs down, then pressed a finger right inside. The digit was slick and greasy, as if already sheathed in oil. There were little problems popping into him, but it was quickly received and enveloped by Shinjichu's scalding hot inner walls. This is like when if I thought watching and reacting to shows where the sex scenes was awkward, I'm dying. The sensation of that nimble finger prodded and crooked against his tight passage was incredibly bizarre, and a shudder traveled up Shinjin's spine as his scalp went numb. Then he didn't have the mind to wonder where Lobingham had acquired such ample tools for preparation. Lobingham held his breath, totally focused on his task. When he pressed the third finger, there came the slightest sensation of something tearing. Again. Shenjing Chia gasped and grabbed Lobingham's forearm, gritting his teeth. Slow down. Like a toddler learning to walk. Oh, I hate that comparison, okay? Her did indeed slow down and follow Shenjingchu's instructions, proceeding step by step as he tried to press and rub. When he found a tender spot along those walls, Shenjingchu shuddered, suddenly finding it all less unbearable. Enduring his shame, he said, there, that's fine. Why did he need to teach another person how to sleep with him, having to act the master even in this situation? Shenjingchu truly wanted to light an entire Tangchung mountain's worth of candles for himself. Moving her stretched him out carefully while studying his expression. The corners of his eyes, which had been dyed a faint red, the tightly pressed lips that stifled all sound, the brows that at times wrinkled, at times relaxed. Her eyes captured each and every minute change. The sensation of having nowhere to hide made Chinchilla feel even more excruciatingly ashamed, and he was about to turn his head to the side in embarrassment. Suddenly he detected something out of the corner of his eyes. Close to Logan's heart was a hideous scar that cut right across his chest. It was from when Shenjinchu had pushed him into the endless abyss, where Shenjinchu had stabbed him right by his heart. He never once intended to hurt Logan, but time after time he had been the one to do so. That was the truth. Falling into a brief trance, Shenjinchu unconsciously reached out to touch that scar. At this exact instant, Lobinger finished his preliminary preparations. He withdrew his fingers, and the hole immediately clenched shut. Then Lobinger's blazing chest came forward and pressed against his. That flared took pot and blunt, popped against his soft, moist entrance. Okay. Shenjingchu wrapped his arms tightly around Lobinger's neck and gasped deeply like a dying man as his body was slowly split open by that length. It still hurt. The entrance was too small. He was too full and it hurt. Even with that lubricating oil sourced from heaven knows where, the growth of the intruding object was simply too large. As it continued to aggravate the pain in his lower half, Shinjin couldn't help but squeeze, lobbing her harder and harder, his legs involuntarily rubbing along his waist. Shizun, is this all right? Lobinghur asked, the sound reverberating in his eardrums. Lobinghur's voice was tight with restraint. It was obvious that it was taking everything he had not to just drive himself in all the way. Shenjinchu defied his own thoughts to say, it's fine. Having received confirmation, Lobinghur's hands on his waist tightened a little. He thrust himself in with increasing eagerness. Shenjinchu's insides were crammed full, his entrance stretched in a strained ring. It felt like his bottom half no longer belonged to him. Lobinger pulled out a little, then thrust inside again, burying most of himself within. As he advanced and retreated in this manner, do I have to read that? Sorry, I'm just cringing at the specific word. Moist squelches, came one after the next, and the torment left Shenjinchu both itchy and in pain. He almost wanted to slam his head into a wall, and tears streamed down his face without his knowledge. At the same time, Lobinghut turned Shenjinchu's face forward, preparing to kiss him, only to see him overwhelmed with pain. He froze for a moment, and, having taken another blow to the heart, his own tears followed, spilling down. The teardrops pitter-pattered onto Shenjinchu's cheek, pattering until he was left speechless. What are you crying for? I'm sorry, I hurt Shizun again, Lobinghut said in a trembling voice. Shenjinchu didn't reply. It's because this disciple is too stupid. Two people crying at each other? What the hell kind of situation was this? Oh no, oh goodness. Enduring the discomfort in his lower body, Shenjinchu pecked Lobingher's eyes and cheeks, kissing away his tears. I'm fine, it doesn't hurt that much. Everyone experiences moments in which they're less capable. Go on. I'll pull out, Lubinho said sadly. Don't joke around. If we leave things like this, we'll both end up with psychological trauma. What if we get ED? Oh, okay, sorry. Like for a moment my brain was like, what is that? And then I remembered. Um A brief pain was better than a drawn out one. They'd come this far. At least one person had to feel good, right? Shenjichu made his decision and abruptly sat up, pushing Lobingho beneath him. The strength he'd been building for so long was exhausted in one go. He had none left to brace his legs. His bottom plunged down, swallowing Lobingho within himself to the fullest extent. Great. The tip seemed to press all the way up into his stomach, bringing with it a sudden urge to retch before he forced himself to swallow. This is just a wonderful experience for both of them, isn't it? Moving her hadn't come the last time, so it probably hadn't counted as fully losing his virginity. Then this time he had to at least help loving her get that far. That is a weird thing because like I know a lot of people have different definitions of that. Um, as he thought this, he propped his arms against Lovinger's abdomen and managed to sit up a little. Suddenly, the thick, hard object inside him rubbed against something, and a burst of tingling numbness swept through him, exploding within his stomach and flooding his entire body. Taken by surprise, Shenjinchu's back went weak and he collapsed forward. Lovinger sat up just in time to catch him and folded him into his arms. Lovinger's senses were incredibly sharp. Does it stop hurting when I touch there? He asked doggedly. Not only had it stopped hurting, it had even felt a little good. In this position, Shenkinchu's legs were spread wide open as he sat atop, lobbing her face to face, the lower halves pressed seamlessly together. In order to keep his balance, Shenkinchu was forced to circle his limp arms around Lobingher's neck. Even Lobingher's gentlest moves shifted their snugly jointed lower bodies, and Shenkinchu couldn't stop a couple of closed-mouthed whines from slipping out. Delighted and rejuvenated, Lobingher fully embraced Shinjichu's hips and lifted them a little, then dropped him down while aiming for that spot. This time, Shinjichu was no longer holding it in. He let out a gasp, his trembling legs no longer obeying him as they climbed down on Lobingher. His entrance too clenched in a death grip. Having found the key, Lobingher officially went on the offensive. Interesting way of putting that. He had no technique at all. He only knew to thrust fervently. But it was precisely this that could strip a person of their last defenses. Shenjinchu didn't know whether he was in pain or taken by bliss. The jolting disrupted his faint groans and disordered gasps, turning them choppy and intermittent, while the sounds of sticky squelching and slapping flesh came from below. The milky white fluid exuded from his tip, and the trickles grew as they dribbled down. Oh, okay. The more fervent the thrusts, the more difficult it was to relieve the prickling heat and the numbing tingles within him. Suddenly, scattered footsteps drifted in from outside the bamboo house. You have got to be kidding me. No one was there for the entire battle with Bingo, and then you happen to arrive. I almost used a different word. Um, I'm trying so hard not to make a pun right now. Okay, anyway, why now? That is my only question. Okay, let me just hold on. Okay, what is the time? Okay, I think we're actually Making good progress. Let me just make sure that everything is still fine here. Okay. Mm. I'm so tired. Xiang, wait for us. I can't run any farther. If Shen Jingxue had been drunk on last moments before, now his soul was about to flee his body. It was the disciples he'd sent to run laps around Jing. Oh no. Shen Jingxue abruptly grabbed Lobinger's shoulders, wanting to get off him, but to his chagrin, Lobinger clamped onto his waist, viciously pressing him downward. This thrust was suddenly too deep, the fullness stretching him too far, the stimulation too powerful. Shinjichi opened his mouth, but Lobinger instantly blocked it with his own. Oh, thank goodness, because I think Shinjichi would have um, done himself in if his disciples heard him moan. I genuinely do not think he would have wanted to live that down. Um, okay, where were we? Unable to do more than grunt, Shinjinju could only choke down his sobs, squeeze his eyes shut, and reflexive tears streamed down his face. Having tasted that sweetness, how could Lobinger let him go so easily? He gently worried at him with lips and teeth while his lower half forcefully drove in and out. Why do I feel like something is missing on top of the bamboo house? Ming Pan asked outside. Is that a hole? You're right. Dashishong it really does look like a hole. When did that happen? Should we go tell Anding Peak, get them to come and fix it right away? This is a mess. Shenjingju was terribly afraid of them coming in now or of them telling someone else to do so. His fingers clenched, digging hard into Govinda's back while his entrance tensed, making the slide increasingly difficult. Then Ning Ning seemed to stomp her foot as she snapped. What are we going to fix? After running for so long, we're exhausted. If you want to fix it, do it tomorrow. All the disciples quickly chimed in. All right, let's listen to Shimei. Thank you, Ning Ning. You are a true soldier. Shimei says to fix it tomorrow, we'll fix it tomorrow. Besides, Shizun doesn't like it when people even casually enter and clean our lower side of the room. Ning said, he definitely wouldn't be happy if we did anything without his permission. Haven't you gotten that into your heads yet? At these words, Lobinger's eyes flashed, and he abruptly pushed Shenkinchu onto the bed. As the disciples all headed towards the dining hall while muttering, Lobinger finally stopped covering Shenkinchu's mouth. Instead, he moved his head to Shenkinchu's chest, where he nibbled. Why did they have to use those two words in such close proximity? How am I supposed to say that with a straight face? On and I'm sorry. Oh, I'm dying. Okay. He nibbled on a nipple. Okay, there we go. I survived. Well, his lower half thrust became increasingly ferocious. Shen Junshu didn't even need to look to feel the delicate flesh of his walls being dragged in and out, sensations altering between cool and hot. After so many thrusts, his insides had grown used to the size of living her. It slid in and out easily, the accommodation perfect. Shizun, muttered Lobenhoi. Don't say that. Shinjinshu couldn't help but plead. To address him properly as a disciple to his master at a time like this, he was going to explode with shame in a hundred times over. No matter how thick his face, how shameless he was, he couldn't take it. But loving her suddenly murmured by his ear, Shizun, I couldn't find you on the other side. Oh, Let's not talk about that while you guys are having sex, okay? His voice was trembling slightly. Shenjicho dragged himself back to attention. The me over there had so many people at his side, but he didn't have you. Shizun, I searched for a long time, but I still couldn't find you. The reason I became like that, was it because I didn't have you? A pause. I don't want to become like that. Shenjinju took a deep breath and pulled Nobuna's head towards his chest where he stroked it. Don't worry, you won't become like him. A moment, and your Shizun will never throw you away ever again. That bit was really sweet though. That was really sweet. Demons had incredible stamina. This Shenjinchu knew. Male leads also had incredible stamina. Shenjinchu knew this as well. But that someone who shared both the demonic blood and the male lead traits could last this long, that he had such profound stamina. Shenjinchu absolutely hadn't been mentally prepared for that. By the time Lobingher finally came, Shenjinchu was in a daze. It was the searing flood of hot fluid spilling inside him that finally brought him back to his senses. At this moment, he no longer wanted to fuss over condoms or lack thereof, or whether or not it was fine to come inside him. He just wanted to sleep. His walls felt swollen, even a gentle rubbing made them prickle with pain. Lobingher reluctantly pulled out and put his all into relieving Shenjinchu's desire in front. Yet even after being jerked off twice, Shenjinchu was still singing the same tune. He just wanted to sleep. Shizun, said Lobingher. Shenjinchu knew what he wanted to ask and mercilessly spoke first. Awful. However, this time, even after receiving criticism, Lubingho wasn't depressed. Rather, he exuberantly declared, "Yes, it was awful, unacceptably awful." What are you saying? Because it was simply awful. This disciple requests that his Shizun assist him with further exploration. Well, it literally just ends on a well. Like what? Okay. Um. So we are now at chapter, yeah, these are organized into chapters. So, chapter 23, recalling an experience of fighting succubi with Great Master Leo. So, I think I'm gonna take a 10-minute break now because we're basically at 10:02. And then I will see you guys again on the hour for us to continue with the second half of this. Okay, I am back. Mm, Hi. Hey, we are on to the next chapter. My dad was just playing with Juliet, who is my golden retriever for anyone who is new here, and it was so cute. But also, we recently discovered that she watches TV, and it's really cute. So I had that posted on my Instagram because I just neither our previous dog or either of our two previous cats did that. So that's so cool. Okay, sorry, totally got sidetracked here. I have new tea with me, and I guess we can just immediately get going. So, um, for reference, for anyone who is following along with their novels, we are picking back up on page 63, chapter 23, recalling an experience of fighting succubi with Great Master Leo. This story took place during the period of time after Shen Lao Shi kicked lolling her into the abyss. I still think it would be better if you didn't come, said Shen Jingche, really. Liu Qingge acted as if he'd heard nothing and continued walking. He stalked with large strides and an arrogant gaze. Chen Lian's tassel swayed behind him. It was as if he was walking not on a narrow, thick, um, thicket-ridden mountain path full of uneven shrubs and hanging vines, but on Baijiang Peak's training grounds underneath a blazing sun. Shide, don't force yourself, Shen Qingche sincerely admonished him. Are you heading back or not? Liu Qingge interrupted. After I take care of the support tickets, after I take care of the succubi, I'll head back. Not him calling it a support ticket. You said that last time too, hmm? And then you vanished for a month. Shishong won't die out here. Every time Without a Cure acts up, don't I always return to Tangchong Mountain to look for you? Shidi doesn't need to go out of his way to chase after me. I'm not chasing you, Liu Qingge said emphatically. Jiangmen Shishong ordered me to come. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Liu Qingge, I totally believe you. Yes, 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 Shen Jingqie said sorrowfully. Jiangmen Shishong really is too kind. After a pause, he added, in truth, Shishong's only looking out for you. The rumors at the foot of the mountain say these succubi adore beautiful men who are full of vigor, so if Liu Shidi insists on coming, they'll undoubtedly target him. Liu Qingge humphed and was about to reply when a stream of gorgeous, enchanting song began to languidly echo down the valley. The song was beautiful, filled with an invitation that lingered after the melody, and any who heard it felt a feathery touch brush their hearts. The two of them turned off the path and arrived at the entrance to a cave. Some 10 young servant girls emerged from the surrounding grass and flowers. Every single one was radiant, their hair combed into two buns, their appearance young and tender. In fact, they were young and tender, so much so that they didn't know to restrain their fey aura. Who are you, newcomers? They set out crisply. At the sight of this bevy of young girls flocking their way, Chen Qingche said pleasantly, we are. But before he could finish greeting them, Liu Qingge reached back for Chen Lian and slid the blade 2 inches from its sheath. Sword glares swept through the area. This simple motion carved a boulder, covering the cave in two, and the girls immediately shrieked, retreating into the foliage. Because of the advantages of their race, Sakiba often had a pleasing appearance, and they rarely had a chance to encounter such violent treatment. On top of that, these ones were young and had a little real-world experience, then promptly started to cry. The mountainside was filled with the sniffling and sobbing of young girls as they wailed and wept. Yeah, them trying to seduce one potentially bi man. I mean, the bi man could still be seduced, but I feel like Chen Jingche is still a hopeless case, even if he is bi. And one potentially very gay man is maybe not the best chance for them. Shinjuchu rubbed his ears. Shidi, you have absolutely no idea how to treat women gently. Liu Qingge was irritated, and his words were clipped and forceful, spoken without hesitation. There's no need to be gentle with monsters. Hurry up and fight, then we can go back. Suddenly, someone from within the cave said, These two immortal masters are so rude. Exactly how have my girls wronged you to warrant such an awful scare? With those soft and gentle words, a willowy woman in deep green sashayed outside. Sunlight illuminated her at the entrance to her cave, revealing her dewy white skin and coquettish features. And how within every single one of her movements there lay an overwhelming charm. Okay, there was a wrongly used there, but never mind. Um, where are we? Cold space is scary, cried the succubi who Liu Qingge had frightened to tears. He's bullying us. This Madame Mei was not only a succubus, but also stunningly beautiful. Therefore, as was the way of her novels, she and Luo Binghe had necessarily enjoyed an affair. Normally, Shen Jingche was very self-conscious around any woman whom Liu Binghe had touched. Forget involuntarily in forget voluntarily approaching them to cause them trouble. He avoided them like the plague. As for why he'd steeled himself and joined in on the fun this time, he had two reasons. Probably one of them is because Lobin has not around at this point. The first was that the crying of the old couple at the foot of the mountain had been too heartbreaking to ignore as they bemoaned the plight of their only son, whose soul had been practically stolen away. The second was Madame Mei Ying's promiscuity. Outside of loving her, she had an uncountable number of husbands and lovers. Her affair with Lobingher was only a one-night stand. She never actually entered his harem. The purpose of her episode had mainly been to give readers the vicarious pleasure of chucking a whole bunch. Oh, I have misread that, and I don't know like how to censor the word that was actually sleeping with a whole bunch of people. So to be precise, Madame Mei didn't count as one of Lobingher's wives. Liu Qingge clearly had no intention of chatting with this member of the opposite sex. He showed no remorse for destroying the madam's gates as he turned his head away. Shen Jingchu coughed. My Shidi isn't used to engaging with outsiders. Madame Mei Ying looked serenely at Shen Jingchu. My girls here are young and ignorant. I apologize if they offended you, but we only just finished building this place. And what a greeting you've given us, collapsing the door so terribly. Don't look at me. Look that way. He collapsed it. That's Chung Mountains, director of demolitions. Want to learn how to blow things up? Baijiang Peak is the place to go. Oh my word, I love his like modern day lingo that just drops in from time to time. On principle, Shen Jingche always tried diplomacy first. We didn't mean to damage your place of residence, he said apologetically while waving his fan. Please excuse our rudeness, but we've come on behalf of the Huang family at the foot of the mountain. They wish for you to release young Master Huang. Oh, a young Master Huang? Said Madame Mei Yin. I've met many young masters named Wang. If not 10, then at least 8 or so. Which young Master Huang could these immortal masters be asking after? Liu Xingge sneered. Release them all. That will suffice. Madame Meiying put on a troubled face. It's not that I don't want to release him, but he himself insists on staying and won't go home. There's nothing I can do about that. I mean, is he perchance enchanted? Because then that would make sense. And I just accidentally lost my place. Sorry about that. Liu Qingge snorted. Shen Jingque had no wish to continue dragging this out either. Even so, could you at least bring him here? We'll figure out the rest ourselves. If that's the case, then please, I ask the two immortal masters to come inside, Madame Meiying said sweetly. Does she really think she's going to entice them once they're in her domain? Because that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Um, She turned and headed into the cave, walking leisurely before them. Shen Jingque made sure to keep a couple of steps back as he followed, then lowered his voice so only Liu Qingge could hear. She doesn't intend to bring him out, nor will she let us go. She won't succeed, said Liu Qingge. Different situations called for different strategies. Instead of prematurely dropping their facade, it seemed wiser to play along and use discretion. They were guided into a wide cavern carpeted with sweet-smelling herbs and damask. 12 elegant, full-figured maids stood in two groups on either sides, oval fans in hand, all gentle smiles. Madame Meiying sat them before a stone table. I've already sent a servant to invite young Master Fong to join us, she said. While you're waiting, shall I serve you something to drink? Shen Chu knew that whatever she tried, it'd all be from the same bag of tricks anyway. Thus he was unworried and smiled slightly. Sorry to trouble you. Are you not worried about potentially drinking aphrodisiac? Like, are we skipping over that possibility? Um, Sorry, where were we? Madame Ying hospitably poured them both some wine, all while seductively eyeing the deeply frowning Liu Qingge. The longer she looked, the sultrier her expression became, until Liu Qingge simply dismissed her with a roll of his eyes. Despite this, Shen Jingque was bubbling over with excitement. Madame Ying had a strong preference for pretty boy faces, like those of Liu Bingge and Liu Qingge. Ah, Luo Binghe and Liu Qingge. Why did I say it like that? Now that she had her sights set on Liu Qingge, would he be able to escape her demonic clutches? Once she sighted this kind of man with her delicate facial features and skin as pale as snow, she'd be willing to pull out all the stops. She'd harass him remorselessly and without end until she could latch onto him, pin him down, and have her way with him until she was satisfied. In no time at all, Liu Qingge's expression was without a doubt would without a doubt be spectacular. Chen Jingche was actually, criminally, kind of looking forward to it. Indeed, before they'd sat for long, Madame Mei Yang, ah, why am I struggling? I'm so sorry. Mei Ying, why was that so difficult? Covered her mouth with the sleeve and glanced at Liu Qingge with affected bashfulness. Does this one have a cultivation partner? How direct. No human or other Fae had ever dared to ask Liu Qingge such a question. It was as if he'd been struck by lightning. For a moment, he seemed to be questioning whether he'd misheard her, his lips and brows twitching, his gaze a little dumbfounded. He involuntarily turned to look at Shen Jingche. I'm sorry, does that not scream and basically just confirm all the suspicions of Liu Qingge being interested in Chen Qingque? Because it's never fully confirmed in the novel, but it's very much implied in my opinion. Chen Qingque had never seen this sort of expression on Liu Qingge's face before. It was almost outraged in disbelief. It was as if a 1,000-year-old iceberg had come crashing down. The hysterical laughter within Chen Qingque's heart surged into a terrifying wave. He managed to keep a straight face, enduring it until even his fan hand was trembling as he struggled to cover his spasming mouth. No, he said sullenly. He doesn't. Why not? Asked Madame Maying. With such a striking appearance, how can it be that no woman has fallen for him? I don't believe it. That's not what you asked. You asked whether or not he has a cultivation partner. That's a very different thing. Chen Qingque expressed his agreement. I'm curious too. Otherwise, why would one of the 10 great mysteries of Changchung Mountain sect be his great master Liu asexual? Liu Qingge stuffily sucked in a breath, then icily said, "Why hasn't the boy arrived yet?" "Please don't be impatient, immortal master," said Madame Mei Yin. "Perhaps young Master Tong isn't willing to come. If you're frustrated, how about I entertain you for a bit to help lift your spirits?" Shen cheerily agreed. I swear it's just like a road trip for him while poor Liu Qingge is fighting for his life. Um, I have no other skills, but at the very least, my meager divinations and fortune telling on the matter of love have always been accurate, she said. Which of these immortal masters is willing to let me read him? Shen Jingqiu asked to his side. "Shidi, are you interested?" "I'm not," Liu Qingge said stiffly. Shen Jingqiu shrugged. "Since he's not interested, it will have to be me." Indeed, in accordance with the canon of the original work, Madame Ying's fortunes and divinations regarding predestined love and fortune tellings pertaining to marriage were 100% accurate. If she said Lobingher would have 613 wives, there was no question that he would have more than 612. If she said that one of his wives would like to be the cow beep girl. Wait, what? Sorry, I misread that, and even if I read it correctly, it's a weird sentence. If she said that one of his wives liked the cow beep girl position, then the wife in question definitely wouldn't enjoy doggy beep style. Okay. How could Chen Qingche, being a bachelor with an uncertain future, help feeling anxious? That was very weird, but okay. Madame Mayenne smiled pleasantly, then turned over her porcelain wrist to produce a delicate flower bud, which she presented to Shen Jingche. "Please breathe upon it." Shen Jingche was familiar with the process. He lowered his head and blew gently. When Madame Mayenne withdrew her hand, the original closed bud had already slowly begun to bloom. She picked it up by the stem and held it before her eyes, lips quirked in a smile, before glancing at the flower center and freezing. I'm really curious about this because it can't be too direct, because then it'll be like how the hell did Shen Jingqiu not put the pieces together earlier? But clearly there's something big here. It's not like there's nothing, potentially. Okay. Liu Jingge had been sitting up straight, alert. At this, he bent slightly toward them, like he wanted to listen in. Zhang Jingchen nudged his shoulder with his fan. Shide, weren't you not interested? Liu Jingge swiftly straightened again. Again, just in case we're wondering whether or not he's actually interested in Shen Jingche, I think that is once again confirmation. The longer Madame Mayyin looked at the petals, the more solemn her expression became. Finally, she said, distressed, Sir, about the red thread from your past. My skill is insufficient, so I can't see it clearly. At first glance, it seems like you were alone, but if I look carefully, I can catch a faint glimpse of another thread. She concluded regretfully. This thread has been cut. Such a pity. Shinjo had once had a fiance, but Shinyan was a single dog. Their two threads were tangled together, so it was no surprise that the madam couldn't see it all clearly. Shen Qingque expressed his understanding. Don't worry about the past. If the madam doesn't mind, please look into my future. He desperately wanted to know if he'd ever find a woman over here. She didn't have to be a peerless beauty, as long as she wasn't. I'm not gonna say that word. Yet, who could have guessed that Madame Mayin's face would become even stranger, like she couldn't find the word to explain? This expression made Chen Qingque's heart thump heavily. How? Could it be he'd be single for life? At last, Madame Mayin began to speak. Ah, the other party is younger than you, she stammered, and their seniority, or perhaps their status, isn't as high as yours. Well, if he only considered the older, more senior women he knew as of now, Shen Qingqi had only met a handful of elderly female nuns from Tianyi Temple a couple of times, and they really weren't to his taste. By his guess, even if he took into account the entire cultivation world, there wouldn't be many women who were both older and senior to him. Thus, Madame Mayin's 2 points were each incredibly rational, to the point that they were pretty much garbage. Your first meeting was unhappy, and there might even have been loathing involved, said Madame Mayin. But after a critical moment, that all began to change, and thoroughly so. Now this um, now this criterion seemed more meaningful, and Chen Jingche's heart couldn't help but flip. Liu Qingde unconsciously turned towards them again. This time, Shen Jingche didn't bother teasing him and simply listened closely to the explanation. Madame Mayyin raised an eyebrow. The two of you are often together. You have both saved each other's lives. Upon hearing this, Shen Jingche was again confused. Why did it feel like not a single woman in his vicinity seemed to qualify? Ning Ying Ying? Liu Mingyan? No need to wonder if it were them. They were in Lobinger's harem. Cross them out. Oh, I forgot how incredibly naive he was at this point in the story. Chi Ching Chi, she was indeed slightly junior to him, and their first meeting, he'd long forgotten how it went. Often together wasn't quite right though. Perhaps he had times dared to think about going to Xiang Shu Peak so they could be often together, but while he had the wicked intentions, he lacked the courage required to follow through, and he could never commit an act as depraved as stalking. In the end, he couldn't imagine any romance between himself and Xi Jingqi. Is there more? Liu Qingge suddenly asked. Oh, I feel bad for Liu Qingge. I really hope there's something that disqualifies Liu Qingge as being the person, because right now I can see how he would think he fits the criterion, and that just will give him so much false hope. Mm. Shen Jingqi is startled. Only then did he realize that Liu Qingge was no longer listening in secret. He had moved over to face them completely. Since when had great Master Liu had so much interest in gossip? The fated person has very little interest in others, Madame Yin went on, but once they find someone, their devotion is absolute. Liu Qingge thought for a while, his expression solemn. Then he asked, "What about appearance-wise?" Shen Qingchu stared at him, speechless. "Even I haven't asked that. Why are you asking? You're even getting to the important bits straight on." "A first-class beauty, peerless among all humans," Madame Yin said with certainty. Uncharacteristically, Liu Qingge pressed on in hot pursuit. "What about spiritual energy, talent?" "Outstanding talent, incredible spiritual energy, and of illustrious status and noble blood." Liu Qingge seemed to be shaking his head in disbelief. "You just said that him and this person, they're often together?" Madame Yin nodded. "Perhaps they may endure short periods of separation, but they quickly reunite, and each time the other party takes the initiative to chase him." Stressing. The corner of Liu Qingge's eyes kept twitching. Then he would violently suppress it, like something had greatly disturbed him. Or perhaps it would be more correct to say that he'd stepped on a great big landmine. Then Madame Yin spoke the final line, which dealt him a fatal blow. "I'm very jealous," she said to Shen Jingzhe. "Do you know, Immortal Master, this person is deeply in love with you." Liu Qingge stiffly swerved his head toward Shen Jingzhe. He wore a complicated expression that was impossible to describe. It was clearly neither joy nor anger, yet it seemed intensely tormented. Shen Jingzhe was confused. "Shidi, what's wrong?" Liu Qingge struggled to speak. "Inaccurate." "Hmm?" Liu Qingge jerked his head up and insisted. "Her fortune is inaccurate." "On what ground do you claim my fortune to be inaccurate?" Madame Median asked defiantly. Honestly, Shen Qingque also thought it was inaccurate. Often at his side, young and beautiful and honorable, even clinging to him, it reeked of some kind of Zhongdian reader male sexual fantasy. No, even sexual fantasies don't go that far into blatant Gary Stu land, okay? Oh, but what if it's the protagonist himself? I think he's the only one fit to be a Gary Stu. A dream girl who met all these criteria. There was definitely no one like that in his circles. Even if there was, she'd be a member of Lobingher's harem. Ugh. Nonsense, Liu Qingge said firmly. "Deeply in love? Absolutely not." With her speciality and exclusive ability having been called into question, Madame Yin became furious. "You're not his fated partner, so how could you know if it's inaccurate?" "Oh, I think up until that point he'd been hitting all the marks and he doesn't want to admit to himself that he's deeply in love, so he's like protesting it." "Wait, young Master Wang hasn't even arrived yet, so could you two stop clashing over something so trivial? And the person this matter concerns is me, isn't it?" He thought all of that, he didn't say it. Liu Qingge had long since run out of patience. The moment Madame Yin snapped, he exploded, slamming his palm down. The stone table split cleanly in two, and Chen Lian unsheathed itself in answer, unleashing razor-sharp sword glares. Enraged, Madame Yin clapped. "Everyone, come out." "Wait, why fight now? What was the catalyst? I still don't know what the turning point was." Naturally, everyone ignored Chen Qingche's outstretched hand. At the sight of Madame Yin and her several dozen Sakubai servants surrounding them, he adjusted his expression and hurriedly readied himself for battle. Cheng Lian wove back and forth with a chaotic flurry of spiritual blasts, after which Madame Yin whistled shrilly. "Hell, not so fast. I haven't psychologically prepared myself." At their master's whistle, all of the Sakubai servants' clothes exploded off their bodies. What is this? Oh my word. White, white, no matter where he looked, it was all a great sea of nude white bodies. Though Shenjingche knew that Sakiba loved playing this trump card, destroying their clothes en masse in a fiendish and frenzied dance, that didn't mean he could witness such a shocking scene firsthand and withstand the impact. He subconsciously closed his eyes and backed up 2 steps, slamming into Liu Qingge. The cavern reverberated unendingly with Sakiba's charming incessant cries. A normal man who had come would have become mesmerized and thrown down his sword, gladly succumbing to the blissful paradise of tender woman's warmth. But Chen Qingche was stunned to see that not only did Liu Qingge act like he had seen nothing, he was utterly expressionless as his sword swept in wide arcs, the blade flashing and trailing blood, slaughtering his foe in a frenzy. In case I had any doubts, the new Sakibai revealed their true forms and moved on all fours, their sharp nails digging into the mud and stone, spittle dripping from their mouths. Ooh! They flung themselves at the 2 people they had surrounded, only to be back by spiritual energy. Chen Qingche wanted to fight seriously too. Really he did. But he couldn't bring himself to look at them head on. I feel you, I feel you. I would be that awkward person as well. Even an experienced, well-guarded elder like himself, faced with such a fresh and lively flood of nude bodies, had a hard time maintaining his composure. How could Liu Chunge fight like it was nothing? Madame Yin's lovely face had gone pale. She hadn't predicted that she would fail to mesmerize them even with all her subordinates. She picked up her skirts and ran. Shen Jingche had originally wanted to give chase, but when he thought about it, their current task was only to rescue the old Huang couple's son and the other captured men who the Sakibai were keeping as pets. There's no need to fight anymore, he said to Liu Chengge. There isn't much they can do anyway. It's more important to rescue everyone. Out of the blue, Liu Chengge said, Don't believe her. Shen Jingchu was baffled. Huh? The thing before, she was just messing around. Don't be so agitated. I never believed her. Great Master Duo's behavior was awfully strange. Shen Jingchu couldn't help glancing at him. He'd barely done so when Liu Chengge met his eyes and snapped. Don't look at me. Yeah, he's definitely, totally 100% straight. I see it now. The more insistent he became, the more Shen Qingqiu wanted to look at him. Only then did he realize that, whether because of anger or for some other reason, Liu Qingge's face, from the corners of his eyes to his cheeks, was now dusted pink. His always indifferent gaze seemed like a frozen lake that had been shattered into 1,000 fragments, and the fragments now surged about in his eyes. Shen Qingque kept staring at him, then suddenly reached over to feel his pulse. As soon as he grasped Liu Qingge's wrist, he realized that Liu Qingge's temperature seemed slightly high. He counted his pulse for a while, then said sternly, Liu Shidi, tell Shishong the truth. Have you deal cultivated with someone before? Why are you asking this? Just asking. You know how deal cultivation works, right? Liu Qingge exhaled, then said through gritted teeth, Shen Qing Xie. All right, I'll ask something else. Liu Shidi, right now. How do you feel? Could he endure until they got back? Not good, said Liu Qingge. Of course not. Even if he was Great Master Liu, being poisoned by the succubus's natural, innate, mesmerizing fragrance, or in other words, the aphrodisiac, was profoundly not good. Shen Qingche sprang to action. Liu Shidi, do your best. Shishun has things to do and will be going on ahead. Liu Qingge grabbed the back of his collar. What do you mean, my best? He snapped. What do you mean, things? Shen Jingchu, you're not seriously thinking of having him physically take care of them instead of just fight them? Um, Cinderella Liu Qingge, I fit these fated person criteria, but I'm not deeply in love with him. What? I'm not actually the fated person? Takes out a sword. Oh goodness. Changing Cheer looked back and jerked in shock. If Liu Qingge's face had only been a soft red a moment ago, like the clouds at sunrise, now it was like the clouds after a fiery blaze, flooded with a terrifying crimson as the veins in his neck began to bulge. Don't be rash, he said hurriedly. Liu Shidi, calm down. You sit here. Shishong will go free the young masters, then return and find you. Rest easy. I absolutely won't be back for a while. You can do whatever you want. No one else will know. Shenjing Cheer. Goodness, he's so bad at reading Liu Qingge. With that, he turned on his heel and tried to leave, but Liu Qingge clasped his shoulder with a hand that felt more like a fine iron claw. Why are you running? He's still at it. Liu Shidi, be Claude Liu, blood brother. I'm giving you the time and space you need to resolve your problem. Don't tell me you can't even take this kind of hint. Have you lived all your years doing nothing? Did your core consume your brain? Oh no. Even if Shishong stayed, he would be useless, said Chen Jingche. Liu laughed coldly. Let me beat you up. Help me vent. That'll be plenty useful. Mm-hmm. This wasn't a problem that beating him up would solve. Shidi, why are you so irritable? If you go on like this, the succubus poison will take over your mind. Liu Qingge's handsome face was splotched with red and white. It seemed like he'd been worked up into true distress, but he had no idea what to do with it. He clung helplessly to Shen Jingche, simply unwilling to let go. At the sight of him being so pitiful, Chen Qingche couldn't help but think of how Baijiang Peak was a gang of thugs who knew only violence and about how everyone there was obsessed with cultivating and fighting. Perhaps Liu Qingge, who'd grown up with such traditions, really was mentally deficient with regards to this sort of thing and didn't even know how to jerk off. A deep pang of sympathy struck him. Of course you would feel sympathy over that, oh my word. When it came to coaxing others, Shen Jingqiu was an expert. Unfazed, he said, Liu Shidi, come. Do you remember how we first met? As was to be expected, the original novel had never explained in detail how these two cannon fodder characters had become nemesis. Shen Jingqiu was only rambling as he tried to distract him. Normally, you could never have so easily messed with Liu Qingge, but now he let himself be pulled along, barely managing to keep his focus in his confused daze. As they walked, he ground out, I remember, I hit you at the 12 Peaks' sword trials terrace. Silence. So that's how it was. It takes a good fight to forge a true friendship. Could it be that at the time Liu Qingge had found hitting Shen Jingche so enjoyable that he had asked for another round moments ago so he could vent? Shen Jingche, it's good you're smart in other ways, because when it comes to matters of the heart, you really are not. Shen Jingche replied, Oh, and led him deeper into the cave before asking, Did I manage to hit you back after that? Even while running a high fever, Liu Jingge remembered to let out a conceited Of course not. Excellent. Shen Jingche placed a hand on his shoulder and patted it. Then today, Liu Shidi, Shishong, shall get his due. And then he kicked Liu Jingge into Madame Mayin's rose petal-filled bathing pool. Water splashed nearly 6 feet up. Even though Shen Jingche had the foresight to cover his eyes with his fan, icy coldness managed to splash all over his head. Oh my word. And then we have an absolutely beautiful illustration again. So let me just quickly show you guys. There we go. I hope you guys can see it properly. But it is of the two of them in the so-called baths. A soak at this temperature would assuredly cure Liu Jingge. Shen Jingque got down on one knee, half kneeling at the poolside, and said gingerly, Liu Shidi, how are you now? How do you feel? A long time passed without any response. Ever since Liu Jingge had sunk beneath the surface, not even a string of air bubbles had appeared. Does he not know how to swim? Shen Jingque wondered. That didn't seem right. Then he had passed out then had he passed out from the fever? Had Chen Qingque managed not to kill Liu Qingge back in the Lingqi caves only to drown him here instead? Oh my word. The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Chen Qingque hurried closer. Liu Shidi? Liu Shidi! Red rose petals covered the entirety of the water's surface. He couldn't see beneath them clearly and could only continue approaching. Suddenly, something seized his ankle and a hand dragged him into the pool. Abruptly submerged and slammed in all directions by the ice churn of water. Shen Jingque's face almost turned blue from the cold. With great difficulty, he managed to grab onto the poolside before turning his head to see Liu Jingge soaking wet and floating behind him with a deadpan expression. There was even a couple of rose petals in his hair. Liu Shidi, that was wrong of you, said Shen Jingque. Shishong submerged you to remove the mesmerizing fragrance. How could you retaliate like that? You asked me how I felt, didn't you? However you feel right now, that's how I felt. His thinking was clear, his counterattack had strength, seemed like he was fine now. The two of them make such good friends. I just like it's hilarious. I feel bad for Shen Jingque, not for Liu Jingge, sorry. But at the same time, they just make for such a comedic duo. Then, are we ready for the next chapter? Chapter 24. Ye Qingyan and Shen Jingque. Okay, so we kind of just skipped over the actual retrieval of the master. We just kind of assumed that they succeeded. Part 1. A clatter rang out as Shen Jie sent the little black dish flying with a kick. He crossed his arms and said nothing. The youth, who was either Shi Si or Shi Wu, shrank back, while the young boys around him couldn't help but send him encouragement with their eyes. So he steeled himself and put on a brave face to say, Shenjie, don't think you can just throw your weight around. You don't own the street. What gives you the right to tell us we can't stay? This main street was wide and even, and many people came and went upon it. If one wanted to beg, it was the best and prime location. Some of the passersby watched this group of children fight, but even more hurried on their way. And this new brat had the gall to challenge him. Not Shenjie looked down and around, preparing to find a brick with which to teach him a lesson. When a tall youth appeared to walk over, he saw Shenjie rolling up his sleeves, head lowered, and hastily went to stop him. Xiaojie, let's go somewhere else. No, said Shenjie, I'm staying here. I'm assuming the note at the bottom is gonna say that it's 4 and 5. Okay, yeah, so it's really just they have numbers for names. That is depressing. But if I'm not misremembering, Shenjie, like the Jie is also a number. I think it's 9. in samsa yo chika yo. Yeah, okay, 9. Sorry about that. Oh my word, I just confused my Korean and my Chinese counting. That is great, but we got to the right answer anyway. Sorry about that. The first youth took the opportunity to tattle. Chiga, he's bullying me. That wasn't bullying, Shu, said Yuqi. Xiaojie was just joking around. Who's joking? Said Shinchu. I'm telling him to get lost. This is my territory. I'll kill anyone who tries to steal it. With Yuqi standing in front of him, Shiwu grew bold. He leaned forward and yelled, Every time we go to a new place, you always hog the best spot. Everyone's been sick of you for ages. You think you're all that. That everyone's afraid of you? Shiwu, Yuqi scolded. Amidst the struggle, Shinjie kicked Shiwu in the shin. If you want to fight, I'll give you one. Only losers would blame their spot for their would blame the spot for their incompetence. You bastard, who's your chica? I dare you to say that again. Wonder if there was a little bit of a feeling there from Shinji to Chiga before everything went wrong. I mean, he did clearly trust him, so that could have been enough. There doesn't need to be something more there, but um anyway, where were we? You're the bastard. I bet you'd get sold off soon and end up a pimp. Oh my word. Yuchi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Where did you learn that kind of nonsense language? Then he dragged Shinji off the side of the road while coaxing him. All right, you're the most competent one here. Even if you didn't pick and choose your spot, you'd be the best. So let's change streets. Shinji stepped on his foot. Get off me. Like I'm scared. Come on, fight me. Wanna gang up on me? Go ahead. Of course, Yuchi knew he wasn't scared. If he really let Shinji brawl with the other kids, he would fight dirty. He'd he'd go, he'd gouge out their eyes and kick them in the belly or crotch or shin. He was terribly vicious, and the other party would be the one to end up suffering and bawling in terror. Yet she forced down a smile. Are you done stepping on my foot yet? If you are, stop it. Chigo will take you somewhere fun. What nonsense fun, Shinji said savagely. The most fun I'll have is if they're all dead. Damn. Kind of forgot how vicious he was. Yuchi looked at him helplessly and shook his head. With a chi for 7 and a geo for 9, naturally there has always been a 1 through 6. But of the previous batch of children, everyone 6 and under had either been sold off or was long dead. Of the children left, these two were the closest. When Shenjie had been a little younger, he'd been small and skinny, yet he had held his head while they sat on the ground, a letter of blood before them. Written on it was a tale of how all their siblings and parents had died, how they'd stumbled upon hardship while searching for other relatives, and how now they were penniless and alone, drifters without anyone to depend on, etc. According to the orders given to them, Yuchi should have wailed and wept, but no matter what, he never could manage to cry. Therefore, this task had instead fallen to Shenju, even though he was faking an illness that supposedly left him too feeble to weep. But he was small and his face wasn't too unsightly to look at, so whenever he sobbed and bawled, the passerbys found him pitiful and generously opened their wallets. Oh, not me taking quite a while to figure out that um, the letter of their tragedy was a forged, like a fake one to elicit sympathy. Mm. It would have been no exaggeration to call him a money tree. Eventually, as Yuchi gradually grew older, he had become less and less willing to do this kind of thing, and so he'd been relegated to patrolling and keeping a lookout. Shenji had wanted to go with him, but he had been forbidden to do so. Therefore, he continued to terrorize the streets, a Scrooge to anyone in his path. As the pair were about to head away from the most prosperous street in town, there suddenly came the sound of thundering hooves. Stall owners on both sides of the street paled with panic. Those with carts pushed them away while others ran as if their mortal enemy approached. Yuichi didn't understand the reason for this, but Shenji had just dragged him to the roadside when a gigantic horse turned onto the street. The horse's bit was forged from pure gold, heavy and solid, gleaming and bright. Haughtily riding astride the beast was a spirited and youthful young master. His face was fair and striking, his brows and eyes slender. Where the light struck his dark irises, two brilliant pinpoints shone, the effect blindingly piercing. His purple hem fluttered against both sides of his saddle, his narrow sleeves sat snug around his wrists, and in his pale hand he gripped a jet black whip. Okay. Dazzled by the gold, Shenji couldn't help but lean out to look. But Yuchi quickly pulled him backward, and the two of them retreated. They hadn't walked for long when they heard a scream and a sound of people scattering. A group of young boys sprinted toward them and pounced on Yuchi, one after another, practically smearing him with terrified snot and tears. Shinji flew into a rage, but Yuchi hurriedly said, "What's wrong? Why are you crying?" "Shivu is gone," someone wailed. Yuchi halted in his tracks. "He didn't follow you?" "There was too much going on," the child wailed. "I couldn't see clearly." "Don't panic. Slow down and tell me everything." Oh, this is going to be heavy to read. As it turned out, when that young master on horseback had taken his guards past the street's entrance, he'd glanced sideways and spotted Shivu and the other children on the street corner. "Where are they from?" he asked, wrinkling his nose. "They're beggar children, young Master Cheer," said a guard. "We don't know where they came from." "What are you doing allowing such filthy things to hang about?" The guards needed no further instruction from their master. They brazenly stalked over to chase the children away, but Shu had been unwilling to leave so easily. Not after he'd finally managed to snatch away Shinji's territory. He yelled angrily, "What gives you the right to kick us out?" I'm too scared to continue reading. He'd wanted to finish with, "You don't own the street," but then the youthful young master waved his hand. A dark shadow descended, slashing a bloody whip mark onto Shawu's face. The wound was barely a hair's breadth from his eye. Shawu had yet to register the pain. He was scared stiff. The youthful young master smiled brightly. What right?" "Not much of one. It's just that my family bought the street. And I don't care about humans at all. I'm just a selfish person." Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Um. hmm. Whether from pain or fright, Shul collapsed to the ground with a thud. Shinji hadn't finished listening to this tale before he burst into loud laughter, but he soon found himself unable to laugh anymore. Yuichi did a head count and discovered that some other children were missing as well. He looked back and said, "You should go. I'll come soon." Shenju was full of schadenfreude. Leave it. Don't go poking your nose into this. That cheer guy doesn't actually have the guts to kill them. Yeah, but I'm getting the feeling that Yuchi is not the type to risk it. Yuchi shook his head. You head back. I'm the oldest. I can't leave this alone. He won't die, Shinji insisted. At most, he'll just get beaten up. That'll teach him a lesson. Go back, said Yuchi. Unable to restrain him, Shinji spat. You meddle too much. And, yelling this, he ran after him. Chijin Jian Luo. I think that's right. Chijin Luo thought that Shinju was incredibly fun. It was like hitting a dog. If you hit a dog, it would duck its head and cringe, cowering away as it whimpered. I hate that description. Though this reaction posed no threat, it also wasn't very interesting. However, if you stepped on this dog, it would growl low in its throat while staring at you fearfully. But it didn't. It'd be too frightened to fight back, and that was interesting. He gave Shinji a slap. By now, Shinji had doubtlessly mentally sworn to screw the Cheer family's graves 118 times, but he could only obediently take these kicks. He even exposed his face for Chijin Luo to hit. How incredibly fun. As Chijin Luo thought this, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Shenji had just taken a good beating and was currently cowering off to the side. Chijin Luo practically rolled with laughter as he eyed him. After he'd purchased Shenji, he'd locked him up for a few days, leaving him covered in grime and filth. When Chijin Luo looked at him again, he had been utterly disgusted, so he picked him up, dangling him like a kitten as he walked over to several heavy-set guards, and then told them to scrub him clean. Thereafter, Shenji had been given a thorough scrubbing and cleaning to the point that it almost scoured off a layer of his skin. Then they'd lugged him back to the study. Now that years of grime and dust had been boiled off of him, and because they'd pressed too hard when washing his face and arms, his pale skin glowed with a soft flush, while his wet hair still steamed from the bath. Standing off to the side, neatly dressed, he really did cut a rather pitiful figure. Chijin Luo studied him for a long time, head cocked. A strange feeling rose in his heart, alongside a dash of fondness. He even held back the kick he'd planned to give him. Oh, that's somehow so much creepier because it kind of like, I don't know, it's just giving me the ick. It's one thing to just look down on someone, but to like have a fondness for this person you're mistreating while still treating them as a thing is like it's just ugh. It feels like a completely different level of objectification that's just really unsettling to me. Okay, I'm gonna finish the page and then I think I'm gonna end it for the night. Can you read? He asked. I know a couple of characters, Shenju said quietly. Chijin Luo laid out a sheet of snow-white paper, then rapped on the desk. Tried to write them. Shenju reluctantly picked up a wolf hairbrush and held it, his grip surprisingly correct. He dipped it in some ink and thought for a moment, then first wrote a 7. After another pause, he wrote a 9. Though the direction of his strokes was all wrong, the results were neither crooked nor slanted. Indeed, they were uniform and impeccable. Where did you learn these? Asked Chujin Luo. I watched someone write. This rat knew absolutely nothing. He only understood how to copy patterns. Yet he'd been able to fool Chijin-Lo, which left him incredibly surprised. Thus, feeling incredibly amiable, he copied the tone of his family's old tutor and praised the boy. You have some talent. If you put some effort into studying, you too might be able to go places. Oh, that is just weirdly disgusting. Okay, as I said, I think I'm gonna end it here for tonight. And the thing that I dropped earlier was my bookmark, so I'm just gonna leave that open for now, and then I'll find the bookmark after we're done with the stream. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, we are gonna be doing another live on Thursday like normal. It's a public holiday over here, but we're still doing the normal stream for 2 hours. And then we're definitely doing Tuesday next week, but I'm not sure about Thursday because we're going away for a week. Do you guys want me to pre-film these, or would you prefer I wait? Like, because what I can do is I can pre-film 2 read-alongs for the week that I'm away. Would you guys prefer that I wait and do them live again once we're back? Should I put up a poll? Maybe I should put up a poll. Mm, let's see. I'm gonna try set up a poll here during the live now, but otherwise I'll just put one up on the community tab. Give me 2 seconds. Oh my word, I feel so inept when it comes to typing with my left hand. Okay, let's see if that works. There you go. Okay, it is up. So I think I'll give you guys like 5 minutes. But yeah, otherwise I think I'm just gonna put up a community tab about it because I don't want to skip over the live streams because I already had to postpone them. Well, postpone one of them last week and shorten one of the other ones, and I do really want to try and finish this up soon, but also I don't want, like, I want you guys to say which one you would prefer. Um, but yeah. So, one other thing, let me just quickly think. Do you guys have a preference for what novel we should do once this one is done? Because I'm thinking we should go back to Urha because we haven't read Urha in quite a while, and I do still have volume 4. I think it's volume 4 waiting for us, but I also like kind of would prefer to wait until we have volume 5 so I can read them back to back. I'm not sure. Okay. Um, yeah, and also I'm thinking of getting, what is it? There's a new one that came out that has an amazing cover, something about wine, or it hasn't come out yet, but the pre-orders for it is up. And I'm thinking of getting that one as well, so that will be one that we do at some point as well. But anyway, okay. I'm only seeing one vote on here, so I think what I will do is I will put up a vote on the community tab so there's a little bit more time for people to vote. Because as soon as I end the stream, the poll is gonna end. So anyway, okay, I will see you guys again on Thursday. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, night, wherever you are. Yeah, 再见。